Okay, good morning, good afternoon. Oh, it's on mute. We're on mute here.
No, we're good. It's Jason.
We're good? Lewis, can you hear me okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to the API Global launch of Sudara Residences Phuket. My name is Michael Layton. I am the CEO of API Global. With me in the Lan Kwai Fong Holdings boardroom is Gary and Jeff from the sales and marketing team for Lan Kwai Fong Holdings, Bill, who is the lead architect on Sudara, who will be happy to answer any questions that you guys have at the end regarding the projects. And then also on the call, we have Lewis Finn, if you'd like to wave, Lou. Lewis is the Global Sales Director for API Global, and we've got Jason, based in Phuket, who is the Sales Director of the project itself, Sudara. So, we're absolutely delighted to be partnering with Lan Kwai Fong Holdings on their latest project in Phuket. I've actually made the trip to Hong Kong from Phuket today to negotiate a very exciting incentive for you guys, for anyone on the call. We'll talk about that at the end of the presentation, but it's something that shouldn't be missed. And it took me a flight, a couple of taxis to get here and convince these guys, but we got there, so everybody's happy. Okay, so I just want to introduce firstly API Global. We'll then talk a little bit about the developer and then the project, and a little bit more about Phuket, why we chose Phuket as an investment location, and then we'll finish off with the incentive and the Q&A session. So I'm the founder and CEO of API Global. My background is chartered surveying. I got my MRICS, which is a member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, in 2007, which feels a long, long time ago now, and worked as a chartered surveyor across UK, Middle East and Hong Kong for companies such as CBRE. Okay, so I was very much on the corporate side of things. In 2013, I saw an opportunity in the market to set up a specialised boutique residential investment advisory with a particular focus on working through the wealth management space globally and helping clients build high-performing yet diversified real estate portfolios. Okay, it's been a tremendous growth curve for API. The main focus was UK real estate, and we're creatures of habit, to be honest, at API. We like to stick to what we know and do it well, do it to the best of our ability, and we're very strong in the UK. In recent years, we have expanded those investment locations to allow further diversification of clients into the United Arab Emirates, into Bali, and more recently Thailand. Okay, we believe in face-to-face interaction. Technology is fantastic, and we adopt it where possible, but we need boots on the ground. We believe that having boots on the ground in region is hugely important for clients to have that support, and our partners to have that support as well. So we have grown to 19 offices globally. Like I said, it's been a very enjoyable journey. It's been an ambitious journey, but it's been a very successful one. We have 19 offices globally. The most recent office actually being Phuket. I've been in Phuket for the past 5 weeks. We've secured a couple of team members in Phuket who are going to be there full time, and we've secured some office premises whilst we open our business license. So the opportunity for you to go and view these investments and to go and have a look and get real expert advice on the ground is there through API Global now. Okay, to date we've delivered in the region of £2 billion of real estate, predominantly UK. So we are a significant business when it comes to delivering investments. We also manage assets for clients globally as well. And I'd just like to, it's all part of the 360 solution, okay? I'm not going to take too long on this, but just to talk you through where we are as a business and what the different offerings that we have. API Global is what we call a B2B business. So we secure the best-in-class property investments for clients. We then introduce those to a global network of wealth managers and property companies, property brokerages globally, and help their clients select the right investments. We also have a capital raising capacity, which focuses on deploying API Global's own capital. So we have skin in the game and a lot of developments that we bring to the table. I think that's a very reasonable thing for us to do, but also we make money through deploying capital into developments. So we don't just look at sit as a broker, we also underwrite projects, forward purchase, and have joint ventures with developers. API Capital Partners also deals with more institutional level investment, so funds and also distressed assets. APIX is an investor club with a particular focus on professional athletes and the entertainment space. One of our main PR strategies as a business globally is to sponsor athletes. We do a certain amount of thought leadership, but we enjoy sports. We enjoy attending sporting events and taking clients to sporting events. And therefore, we sponsor athletes, we sponsor golfers, boxers, cricketers, footballers, etc. Okay? And we also help provide advice to these guys as well. And then the three companies at the bottom are the service companies that we have. Redstone is our lettings and management arm, so we help manage the assets post-completion. Valorem Global is our mortgage brokerage, so where it is an option to leverage, we can arrange those mortgages for the clients on the best rates. And then for clients where mortgages are difficult, credit rating is difficult, we have a bridging finance option where it's more of an asset-backed lending. It's a slightly higher interest rate, but it allows clients to build their credit rating and move on to a conventional mortgage. Okay, so as you can see, as a business, we're thinking about all angles of clients and how we can offer that full service. I'm very, API Global is a tailored approach, it's data-driven insights, and it's the end-to-end solution. We are fundamentally a market research business, and I would argue that this is the most important part of what we do. This is where we earn our stripes, if I may. We are, step one, this is a 10-step process of how we support clients. Step one is market research. So for the last 5 weeks, I've been in Phuket with my family, meeting developers, looking at the best-in-class property investments, running due diligence and research, and we're going to present what we consider the best opportunity in Phuket today. Once we've identified Phuket as a market, we will then go and secure the investments on behalf of our clients. And we, like I said earlier, we have assist as a master broker, so advise the developer. We can take a capital position ourselves in the development, whether that's through an underwrite or whether that's through a joint venture. Now we've secured the investment, we have account managers and investment advisors located in those 19 offices globally who will help each client select the right units, understand clients' affordability. It's absolutely not a one-size-fits-all situation with clients. Okay? Different clients have different needs and different risk appetites, and we're very understanding of that. So Lewis heads up the investment team. We also, once we've identified an investment and the client reserves a unit, or you as the investor reserve the unit, you then get passed across to our sales progression team or client liaison team. Now, this is headed up by Jess Noble out of the Dubai office. She's absolutely fantastic. Her team are the best in the business, and they will hold your hand throughout the purchase process and throughout the legal process. Okay, we've got a very capable marketing team that provides building updates if you're buying off plan. Okay, we will provide periodic building updates to keep you abreast of what's happening on site, and then it gets to the point of completing the investment. So if we can arrange a mortgage. That comes at step number 7. And then we can also bring in a tax and accounting advice as well for you. So it's a whole end-to-end solution. Points 9 and 10 are post-completion. So once you own the asset, we will help with the lettings and management. But number 10 for me is our USP. And this is where we set ourselves aside from our competition. And actually, it's how we align ourselves with our wealth manager partners globally. I like to see API Global as a wealth management company with real estate as our asset class. Okay? Portfolio optimization involves ongoing advice to clients on their portfolio. It might be hold the asset, we're at the beginning of the growth curve. It might be sell the asset, we're at the top of the growth curve and we'll reinvest it into something else. It might be refinance and better mortgage products in the market, or it might be release equity and reinvest. So we're there to work with your wealth manager or with your property advisor to grow your portfolio over time. We're not short-term thinkers. This is a long-term wealth growth strategy.
Thanks for that, Mike. Just before I go into why Phuket, just for everyone that's on the call, there will be a recording that will be shared after, so you can rewatch and then share with any colleagues or friends or anyone you think may be interested. I suppose just come back to what Mike mentioned about API and the foundations of API. As you mentioned, fundamentally, we're a market research business, and that is getting ahead of the curve. It's looking at opportunities that others may not be looking at, and the rationale behind why we've looked at certain locations. And I suppose as a creature of habit, we stuck to the UK for 10, 11 years. But we're also of the understanding and realists that diversification is multiple countries, not just focused on one. And it's looking at where wealth is moving towards and what's going on sort of in those local jurisdictions, countries and cities that make that particular location attractive. Thailand is one of those locations that we focused on and sort of analysing the market and assessing what's actually going on before launch, and it has been critical in the sort of sales and business that we've been able to conduct. When we sort of look at the due diligence around why a market works, there's really fundamentals globally that we would look at and understand and analyse before we take the dive into it. And Phuket for us just stood out like a sore thumb. The amount of tourists that are going there, the population that's growing. That's not just from an individual or sort of a young professional or entrepreneurial perspective, but the amount of families that are now moved there. I was in Thailand 3-4 weeks ago with Mike, and it's the first time I've been to Phuket probably in 5-6 years. And Jason, I know we had this discussion when I was with him in the sales centre, and that the whole place is completely transformed. And it had to transform to be aligned with where the market's moving and what sort of the global population is now demanding from locations. You know, the infrastructure that's now in place, the new master plans that have been created, and it's no longer stuck in traffic for hours and hours. You've got the roadworks and the transport links that are now there, make it really accessible and attractive for people who now want to go there to holiday, but more so on a permanent basis. When you then tie that in with the visa opportunities, which we're going to touch on later throughout the presentation, all going to start to become an attractive hub for businesses to relocate there, or as API have done, set up offices to employ full-time staff, and really making it appealing from that global demographic. And you've only got to look at the stats that are on the screen about how tourism's increasing with that demand coming into the local market is higher than ever. If you look back over the last 2 years, 60% of the apartments or condos that have been sold in Phuket and in Thailand are to foreign nationals. So I think that speaks volumes when you're looking at other markets, as opposed to the foreign influence, not just relying on local market and the affluency of the influence coming in. But when you've got the infrastructure now that's coming to market, when you've got schooling in the education side of things, which is becoming more apparent because you've got families relocating there, all of a sudden the whole redevelopment and regeneration of that area is now making it one of the hotspots, not just in Thailand, but arguably in Southeast Asia. And it's really putting it on a sort of pedestal as a global location to be, which I suppose once the UAE once was many years ago, right? So now we're looking at these locations which are following sort of similar fundamentals and trends. And yeah, I'm glad to say that, I like to think we've got ahead of the curve. And, we launched the Sudara residences last year, before everything started happening in the Middle East. And I like to think we're getting ahead of the curve. That's not to say we forecasted what was going to go on, but already we could see money transferring away from certain locations. We're seeing a lot going back into London, but we're also seeing a lot going the other way into Southeast Asia. So having opportunities with Sudara and Lan Kwai Fong, for me, makes it an extremely attractive proposition.
Jeff, do you want to talk a little bit about Lan Kwai Fong Holdings?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, kudos to you for making it on time. And Mike came like 5 minutes before they started, jumped off the plane, came straight here from Phuket. So good to see you again, man.
Thanks, mate.
So yeah, I'm Jeff. I'm part of the Lan Kwai Fong group here in Hong Kong. We're in our flagship building, California Tower, right in the middle of Lan Kwai Fong. I think a lot of you guys who are on the webinar, if you've been to Hong Kong, there's a good chance you've been here before, had a bit of fun here. I'll give you some history. Lan Kwai Fong historically has been one of the top entertainment districts in Asia, if not the top entertainment district. It's like the Lower East Side of Manhattan, Roppongi in Japan, Soho in London. So it's where a lot of fun happens, a lot of business meeting happens, a lot of love happens. And it's all started from, man, you see on the screen, Dr. Alan Zeman. He came to Hong Kong probably almost 60 years ago now, and he thought, we need a place that's a little bit more casual for business meetings, and he found this kind of discreet little area around the central business district and said, let's, inject some life and fun into this. And he opened up a restaurant originally called California, which by day was a really nice place to hang out, do some business, but at night became transformed into, the place to be. In the last, 20, 30 years, 40 years, you've had the likes of Madonna and Rod Stewart and Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, anyone who's everyone. If they wanted to be seen or see people in Hong Kong, you'd come to Lan Kwai Fong. Since then, his development business really took off, it expanded, and about 20 years ago now, he took a trip down to Phuket and saw a piece of land. He thought, this is quite nice, really enjoyed it. And for the last 20 years, he started developing his hospitality and residential business in Phuket. So Sudara is just kind of our next chapter in our body of work. Aside from our residential developments, we have Lan Kwai Fongs around China. We have various entertainment districts around the world. So it's something that we're very, very passionate about. Hospitality is at the core of our DNA. It's not development, so you do see a little bit of variance and differences in terms of what you might expect from a normal hospitality or development company. But with that, I'll pass it on to Jason.
Yes, Jason, do you want to talk a little bit about Sudara? You're on mute, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So that's an excellent foundation there. The really important thing for people to understand here is that Alan Zeman has been creating these luxury hospitality experiences for over 40 years. And that one restaurant, California, has since grown to 3 skyscrapers filled with luxury entertainment, restaurants, and hospitality experiences that are known worldwide as the best. And this is what we have done here in Phuket. So as Jeff mentioned, Alan and his wife came here about 25 years ago and fell in love with it. The first development project they did here in Thailand was his own villa for his family, Chandara Estate. As a person who's lived here in Phuket for a while, until I met Alan, I thought this was an actual resort. The size of it is massive. It takes up the entire point on one of the most beautiful beaches in Phuket. And now this is being offered with a full staff of 25 for very high-end luxury longer term stays. And think leaders of states and heads of states and anybody famous that you can imagine, when they come to Phuket, this is where they want to stay. So yeah, Chandara has led the way and is really the inspiration, if you will, for everything that we're doing in Thailand after that. So the DNA of our design, as you'll see through the years, really started here. So yeah, if we could move on to the next slide. So the next step after building Chandara, Alan purchased the land directly across the bay from his own home, and built the Andara Resort and Villas. So for the last 20 years, Andara has been the benchmark of five-star luxury here in Phuket. And it runs on a very similar model that we're doing here with Sudara, right? All of the units there are independently owned and run as a resort by the Andara Management Company. And, 20 years is a long time for a building here in Phuket, right? The environment can be very tough on construction. So one of the things that's really amazing is when you walk into this project today, it still looks brand new, not just from the quality of construction, but in terms of the design, it still looks very relevant. And as testament to that, just for the second year in a row, Andara won the Michelin Golden Key Award for hospitality, right? So we're doing it at the highest level here in this market for a long time. Also, one of the things that's great about Andara is it's not just a beautiful place, but for the owners there, it earns them quite a bit of revenue. The resort was fully booked 10 months of last year, which is something no other resort here in Phuket can claim. So great history to have. And we can move to the next slide, please.
Can I just add to that,
Yeah.
Jason?
Yeah, of course.
There is a video coming up, actually, some content that I did. I was lucky enough to be taken around Chandara, and it's absolutely mind-blowing. It's for residents, it is something else. I've never quite seen anything like it, to be honest. And I'm lucky enough to have been staying in Andorra for the past few weeks, whilst we've been setting up the office in Phuket. And I said to Dr. Zeman, when he came over for Easter, he was staying there as well. I said to him, I was absolutely astounded that project is 15, 20 years old. I genuinely, if someone would have said it was built 2 or 3 years ago, it wouldn't look out of place at all. Which for me, the thing that says to me is the maintenance and the upkeep and the way that these resorts are managed is second to none.
Testament to the team.
Yeah, it's testament to the team.
Yeah.
It really is. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And, this goes back to Alan Zeman's entire brand and identity. It's about creating real value and extraordinary experiences for people. And the way that you do that has been consistent for us for over 40 years. You build to a very, very high quality, and then you manage almost to an obsessive level, right? To ensure that the guest experience is always spectacular. And with Sudara, this is the latest branch of the family, right? We like to think of ourselves almost as the younger brother of Andara. And we're sort of the first and flagship project for the future of this branded residence concept. And one of the things that Alan has always believed in is if the people who buy love it and they make money, then the future of the brand is assured. And he's been proving that across all of his projects for 40 years. So, sorry, looks like the video kicked in there for a second. So the keys here are you build high quality and manage high quality. So Sudara will have the same operations and management team. And more importantly for our investors, they will have the same rental management team who's been successfully leading the way here in Phuket for 20 years. So that's a real competitive advantage for investors here.
Thanks, Jason. What we're just going to touch on here, like as we mentioned, is content of where Mike was at Andara, but also actually on site at Sudara with yourself, Jason, sort of seeing how far the build actually is along. You can see the quality and what it's actually going to look like when it comes to life over the next 15, 16 months.
Sudara, which is an amazing 10-bedroom resort in Phuket on the coast. As you can see, there's private villas, there's beautiful views, private beach, and amazing swimming pool there. So an unbelievable project by Lan Kwai Fong Holdings, who are the developer of Sudara. So just to see the quality is breathtaking, to be honest. This is the show unit of Sudara. 2-bed, standard 2-bed with full furniture pack. Beautiful kitchen. The finishings are fantastic, as you can see. So it comes with full fixtures, fittings. Even TVs on the wall. You can see the quality. And then you've just got here, straight out of the show suite. And we have the site itself, which this area here will be phase 2 of the project. Okay, so here we are. Sudara Phuket. Phase 1, here, building A, building B. This is where the pavilion area will go in the middle, at the back. And then we have a swimming pool connecting the 2 buildings in the middle. And then this site here will be phase 2, which is another 280 or so units. So we're going to head upstairs now and have a look at the views from Sudara Phuket. Prices at Sudara start from £240,000, or about 1.8 million dirham. So very affordable. It's affordable luxury. So we're on the rooftop here at Sudara. You can see literally see here. It's got to be what, a couple of 200-300 meters or 300 meters away probably. 5-minute walk. This is also the sunset coast. So you've got beautiful sunsets here every day. And look at the views around here. You've just got mountains and beautiful views all the way around. It really is A1 location. And what's interesting, you see some of the other developments around here. Sudara has space around the buildings. It's got a feel of openness, and it's got a huge pool in the middle, and it's high ceilings in the apartments. So it really, you can see the floor-to-ceiling heights here in the apartments. They're fantastic. And then you've got the roof garden for building B here, and the building A roof garden where you can just watch the sunset in the evening. So this view here gives perspective on the amount of space around the buildings across the site, but also the communal pool area is huge, and you've got all the different seating areas here and planting areas. But and then at the end here, you can see where the pavilion's being built, which will host the food and beverage and the gymnasium and everything else. So, and then you've got phase 2 at the back here, but it's a top quality development, and one where like I said, it's affordable luxury.
Yeah, that is pretty much a perfect way to put it. Affordable luxury. So, Mike, do you want to make some comments there real quickly? Oh, here's the man himself. The Godfather.
Yeah.
We're going to say hello, Alan.
Just get back from the sun. Yeah.
Like when his
It's a battle there.
Alan's evening, everybody.
Yeah.
You okay? Sorry, Jay. So if you want to continue with Sudara.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for showing that video. I mean, the one thing that is difficult for us is that, there's beautiful images, there's great renders, but any project can have that. But the real difference is, and Mike and Lewis, I know you experienced this yourself, when you finally come and set foot here and feel the vibe and see the quality level for yourself, it's an entirely different experience, right?
100%.
And so
I couldn't agree with that more. I think we banked out it's hard from a presentation to understand the location and really how central you are and in touching distance of all these amazing. Nomad Beach Club is an amazing venue. Brilliant concept. Bangtao Beach, I think, like Lewis said, we were there 4 years ago, and it's come on leaps and bounds in 4 years. And it really is a fantastic community now. So you're walking distance into all of these great restaurants, hotels, but essentially Sudara is at a 5-star hotel level anyway, and it's run as a resort. So it's worth touching on that, Jace, as well, on how it's run.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's really the big difference between what we do and most condominium developers do, right? Most condominium developers here in Phuket, they focus on building the unit, they sell it to you, and that's where they make their money, and they're gone. So they don't really care about what the quality is because it doesn't matter to them. We're very different in that we are the developer and also the management company pretty much forever, right? So we're investing to make this building profitable for all of us for the next 60, 80, 100 years, right? But the service is what it really comes down to. Just to put out a couple of facts, you know, the average rental return rate in Phuket right now is about 10%, right? And that's a good number. But there's sort of this misconception that you just get 10% automatically, right? It's not the case at all. It's all about the service and the guest experience, right? So you're going to get the highest returns in Bang Tao area because that's the most premium area where we currently have the highest occupancy rates and the highest nightly rental rates, et cetera. But the key is having the service to back that up 365 days a year. And nobody does that better than Andara, right? So we're starting with this tremendous advantage. Our owners, like personally, I bought a unit myself. It's in a price range that's affordable for most people in the working class and the upper middle classes, et cetera. But you still get that true 5-star service, concierge level service that is setting us miles apart from what anybody else is doing. And this blow up here of the area is really critical to understand because Phuket is a very big island. Just to give you some context, to go from north to south takes about an hour and a half by car if there's no traffic, right? So it's a fairly large place. All of the high-end dining, entertainment, shopping, etc., is focused here in Bang Tao. And in fact, Bang Tao Beach, which is right next to our project, is the most popular and highest rated beach in all of Thailand, right? This is the place everybody wants to go to. You have everything from large international nightclubs like Maya Beach Club or smaller, more rootsy places like Nomad that you mentioned, and everything in between, right? We're close to about 5 different international level beach clubs. And then, of course, there's a number of like smaller mom and pop type restaurants and bars that suit pretty much any taste and style. So being within 500 meters of that is a true differentiator in terms of what your income will be. But when you match that with that 5-star service, it's a knockout punch.
I think a key thing for me, Jace, was I was having dinner with Zuma last night at the top of Bangtao Beach. And it was like Zuma, when they're coming to town, that's usually a really interesting indication of where the market is moving. And I think what we're going to see over the next year or two are more international brands coming to this area, which obviously in turn will drive values.
I think it also speaks volumes, Mike, about the demographic of people that are moving there. So, Jace, are you able to give everyone on the webinar a bit of an insight as to the types or the nationalities you're seeing coming to the local area, but also it's probably good to understand the reasons why. So obviously I've been down to site with you and with clients that have bought, and they all have different reasons as to why they're moving there. But what would you say is typically the most prominent one that you're experiencing?
Yeah, well, I'll share the reason we hear over and over and over again from the people that are buying with Sudara. just first and foremost, Thailand has a very mature industry as far as taking care of international guests, right? The Laguna area has been a popular destination for over 30 years, right? So around us in Bang Tao, very well established in terms of infrastructure and what's around it. But since COVID, things have changed. But before COVID, Phuket was primarily a place where people would come, spend a week, party at the beach, and then go. Since COVID, we were the first location in the world to reopen to international visitors. And the type of people changed dramatically. It became families that want to stay for 2, 3, 4, even 6 months, right? And as a result, they're finding all of this infrastructure here for them. There's 4 international quality hospitals that are better than anything I've ever seen in America, where I'm from. You've got 13 international schools that teach people's children to the highest level. And what's interesting is we're seeing people that will come live here for 6 months of the year and put their kids into one of the schools for a term. And then they move back to their home in Europe for a different season, or the United States, or wherever, right? So this has become a place where people are creating a longer term home because of the infrastructure. Our airport welcomed 10 million people last year. And they're actually building a second airport to accommodate another 18 million, right? But what's really interesting is these people are staying longer, and it's a broader range of people who are coming, right? So to share some of the nationalities that we're working with currently, like there's Russians, Bulgarians, Polish people from every Western European country, many from the United States, where I'm from, Canada, Australia. The 2 biggest groups really that have found their way to us so far are expats who are currently living in Singapore or Hong Kong, right? Because they really want the high quality, but we offer something that's very affordable for them with a rate of return that couldn't be touched in either of those cities, and the 5-star service. So the majority of our owners would be people in their 40s, 50s, and up to 60s who are at a certain point in their life where they're considering retirement and a place maybe that they could come and retire to in 5 or 10 years, but that they can bring their families for a really quality experience a couple months of the year and then make money with us the rest of the time. Now, the folks that have chosen...
Last 2 deals we've done are from Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates as well.
Yeah.
Which is quite an interesting trend, isn't it? We're seeing a lot more interest coming from the African continent and the Middle Eastern nationals. So it's a real mix of nationalities and cultures, isn't it? In Phuket?
Absolutely. And one of the things that's been interesting is in the last several years, you know, Phuket used to have kind of a high season and a low season, right? That's kind of gone away. Because in our low season, the rainy season now, people from the UAE have been coming here the last 3 or 4 years with their whole family for 2 or 3 months because it's 29 degrees here versus 50 degrees at their home, right? So that whole thing, all through the year, we've got different segments of people that are coming here. And ultimately, it comes down to people further and further away. Like you mentioned, I love that you brought up Tanj, right? She was a great example. She bought the unit sight unseen. And when she finally made it here, she was so thrilled with what she saw and the quality that she actually got. You know, this is the reaction we typically see from people who invest from overseas. Now, there are also people from all over the world who have chosen to invest with us strictly for income, right? We recently completed a deal for 36 units that will be for an investment only. And these people are choosing us for the same reason that others are, which is they have a solid partner who's been in region successful for 20 plus years, right? Specifically on this island, an incredible track record of quality and success. And on top of that, you know, very, very high potential for ROI with a service level that can accommodate it. But ultimately, it comes down to people are choosing Phuket because it's safe and it's comfortable, and it's a place where international people have been making a home for many, many years.
I think on that as well, an indicator, a good indicator is airlines. So they announced that they have a direct flight now from London Heathrow to Phuket. So that's a massive positive. Also, Korea have put a direct flight on from Seoul to Phuket. So it's always good seeing how airlines react to markets, because they obviously see the value in these areas as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if I could just put a finer point on that, currently Phuket Airport has 300 direct flights to international capitals around the world a week, right? So I'm flying from Phuket directly to Frankfurt next week. I was just talking to one of our buyers before we started this, who's flying back to Vladivostok, direct flight from here to Vladivostok to Moscow. The range of nations that are directly accessible from here is just growing exponentially. Yeah,
it's great. It's a great indicator. All right, so to the project then. Let's talk some numbers. Let's talk some yields. What does it look like, and what's the opportunity?
I think one thing that's really exciting about this, Jason, which I know you'll go into in a bit more detail compared to maybe some other developments that are in Thailand, is the actual the ownership structure and how it can be relatively flexible. So if you just want to touch on that before we go into actual the pricing and the yield.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really interesting point. Currently, there are two ways that foreign owners can invest in property and live in property here in Thailand, right? Currently, it's not legal for a foreigner to own land here. So the most mature option is leasehold ownership. And this has been around for 40 years, has been defended in courts up and down a million times. And it's really the most stable option available. The other option is called foreign freehold, which allows the owner to have their name on the title deed. And with a developer like us, you know, we are essentially leasing the land back to them in perpetuity. Now, the advantages and disadvantages of those come down to what you're looking for, honestly. Like, so for example, the overwhelming majority of our investors choose leasehold, right? And there's three reasons for that, right? The leasehold price is less than freehold, significantly. Two, the price of taxes and registrations are 50% what they are freehold. And lastly, the Thai government recognizes the lease contract or agreement as property, right? That is property in the buyer's name and is registered with the land office as such. So the government allows investors to write off depreciation of 1/30 of the price per year, right? So it's a very, very attractive direction for investors. And particularly if you're looking for maximizing ROI, right? That's the big thing. But if you're looking,
sorry, just on that, Jason. Sorry, just on that to interrupt. It's probably useful for everyone to know, regardless if it's leasehold or freehold, the rental monetary amount doesn't change. So the lower the price, the greater your yield play.
Exactly. That's the heart of it, right? And so, you know, the other thing is our leasehold is very different than other leaseholds in other parts of the world, right? And the Sudara leasehold is different from other developers. So in Thailand here, we have a 30-year lease, right? And it really depends on the developer how they choose to approach that. In our lease, the agreement is such that our owners can renew that lease when it comes up at no additional charge from the developer. There's also a clause in there that states that if you transfer ownership to anybody, say you sell the unit or you pass it on to one of your children, that new buyer will automatically get a brand new 30-year lease, right? So it's a very different structure than people may be familiar with, or I was familiar with from the United States, right? And so if anybody would like to go further into detail on that, we can set up, you know, an offline conversation. And but ultimately, it's a very secure way to go and basically save 15% off the top. So if ROI is your goal.
Just adding to it for clarity, that is renewable in perpetuity, guys. So there isn't limited to 1, 2, 3 renewals. Every 30 years you can renew for a further 30 years in perpetuity. And if the laws change in the future, LKF Holdings will adopt the law to benefit the investor. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great point. The reason why that becomes important is because currently the Thai government is exploring changing the current lease contract time from 30 years to 99. So if at any point in the contract term that happens, your contract automatically will be changed to, or with notification, of course, will be changed to the new legal limit. As will rules about foreign ownership, right? Currently, here in Thailand, a development like ours is allowed to have 49% of the units or the square meterage be foreign freehold ownership. The government is exploring the possibility here in Phuket specifically of maybe doing that on a trial program for up to 80%. So if that does happen in the future, there's an agreement in the contract that says you can notify us and be upgraded to foreign freehold if it's available at that time. So we're here to create a home for you and your grandchildren and your grandchildren's grandchildren, right? Whether that's a home or an investment. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Jace. And just to confirm, the development still on track. We're still looking to complete early Q3 of 2027. Typically, the build periods are sort of 18 months, maximum 2 years, and then phase 2 is looking to launch towards the back end of the year as well.
Correct.
From a yield perspective, I think, as you mentioned before, Jace, the yields are very attractive. Net yields will vary depending on unit type. As a blend, you're looking at around 10% as a net yield play, which obviously makes it very exciting from a cash flow perspective. As we mentioned earlier on in the presentation, the 1-bedroom apartments start from £240,000. So when you're actually looking at that in comparison to other markets, the UAE being one, you know, you're looking at just shy of 1.2 million dirhams, which I think is exceptional value for really what's a branded residence with sort of full resort amenities and facilities that go with it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You just want to touch on some of the amenities that actually do come with
absolutely. So Bill has really pulled out all the stops with the design. I mean, it's incredible what we're doing, right? And by the way, it's going to look even more attractive in phase 2. So the center of our project, right, is our pavilion, which you can see an image of up there. And, you know, Bill was inspired by the Spanish stairs in Rome to create this lounging area, which really becomes like an amphitheater to watch sunset because our project is oriented due west. But everything is designed to be high quality, not only to look good, but to feel good, right? To have great texture and a sense of space. The feeling is what's really, really important here. And Bill does that better than anybody else. You can see we will have our Grab and Go Cafe, which is the same restaurant brand that we currently have at Sudara. It's called Silk Restaurant. And, you know, it's been a staple here for 20 years, an absolute legendary restaurant. We'll also have a fantastic fitness center that will have a lot of space. Most commercial gyms here in Phuket are actually quite small. So our gym here is going to be bigger than the majority of the commercial gyms available. So personally, I can't wait to move in. So we'll have free weights, all kinds of weight machines, a variety of cardio equipment, and it's all going to be top of the line Life Fitness brand equipment, right? So everything we do has to be high quality to the touch, to the feel, to the eye. One of the things I'd like to share as well is if you look in the top left corner here, that's the foyer for our Block B. And it's hard to see in that little picture. So hopefully the API team can share with you more of the details. But this is what we're all about, creating these wide open spaces, right? In this case, 10-meter high ceiling that really brings this timeless tropical modern feel with the light accented wood tones with traditional Thai design incorporated into it, right? We want to be very proud of the Thai heritage of this company and what we do here. And we want our guests to really feel that they're in Thailand, which is not always the case in Bangkok, right? A lot of the projects you could be in Moscow or Miami or wherever. So Bill has done a fantastic job of really capturing this timeless modern look with a beautiful, airy, breezy feel to it. All the plantings are Phuket native plants, and we have 40% green space. Mike, you've seen how particular we are about our landscaping from Andara. So every single aspect of this project has been designed to create an amazing experience. And I really feel lucky because we're taking the 40 years that Lan Kwai Fong Group has been doing high-end hospitality projects, and we're sort of taking all of the learnings from that on how to create a really optimized lifestyle that is beautiful, that is affordable, and that is sustainable.
Jace, I think it's important to mention as well, this is just phase one, right?
Yes.
The immediate phase one is absolutely fantastic.
Correct.
But let's touch on phase two. Investors come in at phase one pricing, where you get the benefit of all the additional amenity, which again is going to drive capital values and rental values. So do you just want to touch on what will be coming in the amenity of phase two also?
Yeah, absolutely. So phase two is located right next to phase one, right? And it will have all of the hallmarks of Sudara and Lan Kwai Fong, the same quality. In fact, the buildings will look very similar from the exterior. Actually, could you go back to that last slide for 1 second, please? Yeah, thank you. So the similar textures, design, etc. The difference is that the units in phase two will be about 20% larger. So just to give you some context, Sudara is currently the lowest density project being built in Phuket right now. The majority of condominiums here are over 1,000 units, right? With very small rooms, like 29 square meter, 1 bedrooms, 40 to 50 square meter, 2 bedrooms, right? We are going the opposite direction of what the rest of that marketplace is doing. So we only have 220 units in our phase one on about 15,000 square meters of land, right? Our room sizes are bigger, as we'll get to on the next slide. But when it comes to phase two, we're going to step that up a notch, and we're going to increase the amount of amenities. So Bill has already designed in 3 paddleball courts, plus we're going to make a clubhouse there, so it can be more of a social center for the club. We'll have additional wellness facilities, including saunas, cold plunges, wellness clinic, etc. Additional restaurant options available, and owners from both sides will be able to benefit from all of those amenities.
There's kids club as well, isn't there? I believe.
Yeah.
Which is great for the families.
Yeah, and not only that, but if you look at our swimming pools, the main body of the pool is about 50 meters long. But at either end, there's a kids' play area, right, where there's a small water slide and a shallow splashing area. So that we'll have a similar setup in both phase one and phase two. So there's lots of places for the kids to play and be watched by their parents and safe, right? So that's really important. We want to be a family-friendly location. But phase two will be bigger and better. But what the advantage to phase one investors is this will drive up the price of your property in phase one, right? We're still building here, right? So phase one has another 20% of pricing increases to come before we finish construction. Phase two will start roughly where phase one ends and go up from there. So part of our plan here is to create additional value for our partners and our Sudara family members that are in phase one as well. We don't want to create something that will compete with them, but rather we'll make theirs a better opportunity. So putting up the room types here, we've got 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom units, basically a few different varieties of each. We have, for example, 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom units that have private pools and larger terraces. We have special 2 bedroom and 3 bedroom that are even a little bit bigger than what you're seeing here. So there's a huge variety of what we can offer you, but all of it coming with the same quality design and thoughtfulness. On the 1 bedroom, those are starting at about 11 million Thai baht, right? Average yield we're calculating over 5 years is about 11.2%. And personally, part of the reason I bought my unit here is because I know that's a very conservative number. 2 bedrooms start at about 80 square meters and go up to 124. The yield there looks closer to 10.5%, but what we do know from examining the data here over years of rentals in Phuket, 2 bedrooms are always more occupied, higher occupancy rate, and obviously have a higher rental price than 1 bedrooms, right? So most of our investors choose to go with that route. But the 3 bedroom is where it gets really interesting, because most condominium developers do not make 3 bedrooms here in Phuket. So this allows people to have a true 5-star experience with a larger family, 500 meters from the most popular beach, with, again, that 5-star resort services at a much lower price to rent or to buy than a similarly sized villa here in Phuket, which would be 5 kilometers from the beach and would start at about 15 million baht more per unit, right? And again, you're not going to have that management as well. It's like if somebody's renting your villa, it's check in, check out, and that's it. So this is, to me, like a real villa killer in terms of the investment.
I think, Jace, what's also quite interesting, you mentioned before about the secondary airport that's opening with 18 million passengers to be accommodated. Yeah. There's purely going to be so much demand coming in and not enough supply coming to market that can accommodate either from private condos or hotels that are available, is that those yields will massively jump up as a blended average purely from a supply demand imbalance.
Great point. And to kind of further go into that, right? The other advantage that we have is, again, Sudara has fewer units than any of the projects being built within 5 kilometers of us. It has larger units than any of the projects being built within 5 kilometers of us. So we will have a truly unique offering in the marketplace where, you know, we will have higher occupancy rates, I believe, than any of these other projects around us. One other thing I want to point out is that the numbers we saw on the previous slide were benchmarked from actual occupancy rate and night rate data from about 3 years ago. When we benchmarked those prices, the occupancy rate of the projects around us that we benchmarked was 65% over the year. Currently, the projects around us are running at 85%, right? So to your point, Louis, like the market just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and more of those people that are coming here want a higher end, better quality experience.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm conscious of time, so we've got a couple more slides left. Payment schedule. So we've got full cash equity purchase over the build. So it's initial 35% exchange amount minus reservation. The reservation fee is 200,000 baht, which is roughly about £4,500 as of today. And then you can see the remaining balance of 65% is paid over the build at certain milestones. However, as part of Mike's negotiations in negotiating an incentive, which we're going to touch on, there's also a secondary payment plan that we've been able to negotiate for the first five purchases. I know, Mike, it took a lot of back and forth with the team to be able to negotiate this, because it isn't a norm, it's not standard. But you've actually got a post handover payment plan where it's 60% of the build and 40% over the following 2 years. But again, that is only to the first 5 investors, and the rest will have the the revised payment plan, as you can see on this screen here. But for any further questions on that information, please reach out to your designated API account manager to discuss in further detail. And then finally, from the Thai visa perspective, sort of people moving remotely or working remotely and having that ability to travel freely has become more popular. And Chase, you hit the nail on the head, really, post-COVID. I think that this is really come to play. And I don't want to go into this into too much detail, so I'm conscious of time, but we do have a variety of different visa options dependent on what it is you're looking for, dependent on sort of the asset purchase or really what you're going to be doing in Thailand. We can introduce you, Jason and the team, to the right people that can put that in place. So again, any further questions on the visa process and what you would be eligible for, please reach out to your designated API representative.
Yeah, and just to put a final point on that too, sorry, most of our buyers don't get long-term visas. It's not required to buy property here. Most countries get an automatic 30-day visa on arrival that's extendable to 90 days. So the longer-term visas are an option for people whose lifestyle and family maybe needs that, but it's not a requirement by any means.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Thanks, Lewis. Right, so the incentive, just to wrap up the presentation, guys, thank you for bearing with us. I know it was quite just over an hour long, but very informative, so thank you guys for the presentation. We've managed to secure quite an interesting incentive for any investors. Based on placing a reservation fee of 200,000 baht, we're happy to arrange a trip for 2 people, flights and a couple of nights accommodation in Phuket for you to come and have a look at the project. If you continue with the purchase, then we will offset that cost against your property price. So that's a little incentive on us. If you don't go ahead, then it would be up to yourself to cover that cost. But it's a great opportunity for you to come to Phuket, see the team, meet the team, have a tour of the local area, and of course Sudara. If you're happy to go ahead with an investment without viewing it, then you've got a free trip in your pocket for whenever the project is completed. Okay, so really interesting incentive. It's like Jason's touched on in this presentation. You've really got to see it to believe it and to feel it. So that's why we were so adamant to try and put together an incentive where you guys can go over, have a look at the project and get a feel for the place. So if you are interested, reach out to your wealth manager, your property broker, or the API Global account manager. Let's have a follow-up. We can talk you through the project in more detail or select units for you. We can then look at arranging a trip over there. We've got an office in Phuket. We've got a team on the ground who will host you. So that's that. Listen, thank you everybody for joining us today. We will open the floor to some questions. But I just wanted to finish on one point to say, look, the API benefit is you have one point of contact for all your property investments globally, right? So don't be intimidated by the fact, oh, I don't know too much about Thailand. How do we do everything? We're there to support you through that process. Whether you buy in the UK, Thailand, Bali, UAE, we can help you. And it's one point of contact. Equally, and Jason's touched on this a little bit, when you're entering markets, due diligence is absolutely key. In every market in the world, you've got to be selective with who you work with who the developer is. You've got to identify the best quality, and you've got to know what that yield is. Because I tell you now in Phuket, there are fantastic developments, but yields don't stack up for investment. This project, it ticks all the boxes, okay? To the point where Jason himself has bought, I bought a property, my friend here and associate Nick Carlisle, who runs CBRE in the Middle East. He's also bought a property, so he's got the CBRE stamp of approval. So we're really behind this project, guys, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. So let's have a look at a few questions here. Does the investment give you access to a visa?
Yeah, the answer is yes. So Thailand does have a visa on investment. There are a number of qualifications for it, but yes, it certainly is available. And the API team can put you in touch with us, who can put you in touch with a visa partner who can walk you through what's the best options for you. We'll
work all that out for you. That's part of our service. Is the project approved by local mortgage lenders? Lending in Thailand isn't as easy as other parts of the world, admittedly, as like the UK, for example. UOB Bank out of Singapore have facilities available, and we will share more information on that. There is also a company based out of Bangkok, Capital Link, that has a lending facility as well, which we're working on. Usually people buy cash in Thailand, but depending on your personal situation, we could potentially get some form of leverage, probably up to about 50% loan to value. James, is it pet friendly?
The answer is sort of, yeah. So we don't necessarily have dog parks or anything, but there are several owners who we've approved for small pets, like a cat or a small dog.
Yeah, you can't have a hippo.
No hippos, no bang for anybody here. Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. What type of payment methods are approved? That's a great question.
That is a
Lewis,
great question.
over to you.
So it's bank transfer. The weird and wonderful ways like some countries may offer don't exist. So yeah, bank transfer only. We can take reservation fees by credit card, but for the stage payments, it's bank transfer to Sudara.
Yeah. I think it's important touching on the anti-money laundering requirements on this, right, Luke?
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
I've just said I think it's worth touching on the AML side of things in terms of moving money across to Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Jason, you've got we discussed this when I was over, when we had one of our clients visit the site. There's certain regulations that need to be met for transfers, which is standard documentation that needs to be provided. Can you just go into that in slightly more detail on the variations of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really depends on the type of ownership you choose. The most restrictive in terms of AML qualifications and financial oversight is foreign freehold. So if a purchase is made as foreign freehold, every single bot must come from overseas, from a foreign currency, and through the SWIFT system only, right? And every single payment has to be to the letter perfect, or else the land department will not allow it to be registered as foreign freehold. So that is one of the reasons that people may choose to go with leasehold, right? The leasehold restrictions are much less. The funds can come into Thailand from pretty much any source, as long as it terminates into our bank account in Thai baht. Yeah, so it's a much simpler process, but Thailand is making a lot of effort and going really far into making this country a much safer place for foreign investment. And this type of financial oversight is actually a good thing. We want to make sure that the funds that are coming in are legitimate. And in our case as Sudara, we want to make sure that we keep a really positive community here, right? So adhering to the government standards is something that we do 100%. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a couple of questions on annual returns. Excuse me, it is not a guaranteed yield. It's a projected yield, but based on some significant data. from other projects and the last few years and what we expect the growth to be. So we're pretty confident on the yields. In terms of annual returns, how will the owner know what the apartment is achieving? So what's the reporting structure, Jason?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, and that's one that Gary and the team are helping to work out at this moment. We will distribute the income twice a year to our owners, and basically there will be some kind of report that allows them to see exactly how many nights the room was rented, at what rate the room was rented at, and so on and so forth. We try to be extremely transparent, right, with everything. Most of our buyers are foreign, so we want to help them have a very smooth and comfortable experience, and transparency is the way to get there. But ultimately, you know, you're not capped at 10%. If we end up making much more than that, then you make much more than that. So Sudara is your partner here. We make money when you make money. So we're very, very motivated to keep those rooms full and to keep the price optimized. And we've been doing that for 20 years here already, right? Making sure we get the right amount of pricing to get the best yield, but also in the low enough to be bookable, right? They're very, very good at that kind of management of the rental rates.
And also, if clients do want more than 2 payments a year, there is a level of flexibility to increase that to quarterly, potentially.
Potentially,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, one of the things that's different about Sudara is we try to be pretty flexible with our owners, right? We really want this to be a great experience for all of you, and we see you as part of the Sudara family. So whatever we can do to help, we'll do it if we can. Yeah.
Okay, a couple more questions. One from Laurie. In terms of capital appreciation, this is a great question, and this is an incredible answer, because I asked Dr. Zeman myself. We are staying with 3 families in a 5-bed or 6-bed villa. 5-bed villa in Andorra at the moment. Mm-hmm. So the question, is in terms of capital appreciation, what did owners from Andorra see? The villa we're staying in, I believe, was sold for just shy of $2 million when it was built, and it's worth over $10 million today. So that gives you an idea of the level of appreciation that is achievable in Phuket.
Yeah,
which is incredible. But again, going back to what I said earlier, I think part of the reason for that is it's a brand new villa still. The quality of the maintenance, I believe it's the same contractor, isn't it, that maintains every year in low season. The same contractor comes in and conducts maintenance, repairs, and upkeep, and that's going to be exactly the same in Sudara as well. You won't get that with a lot of projects.
No.
So.
Yeah, sorry, Mike. That's a great point. Our construction partner has worked with us on every single project for 25 years, including building Alan's home and Andorra, right? And they know exactly what quality we need, and we understand that they can do that reliably, right? So this is a big differentiator as well.
Right. Well, look, I think just to summarize, it's a very affordable investment. It's not the cheapest product in Phuket, but there's a reason for that. And I think the reasons for that completely outweigh the downside. We know it's going to be managed properly. We know the quality is going to be absolutely top of the tree. It's going to be hugely profitable for investors, great yield, very affordable. Walking distance to the beach, on the sunset coast of Phuket, and banked out is going places. So look, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Gary, Bill, Jeff. Thanks, Nick from CBRE. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Lewis. And thank you all for joining us. It's been fabulous having you on. And like I said, reach out, and we look forward to flying you to Phuket soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.